Here's the real truth about the Thompson Twins, and a lot of people aren't going to agree with this. Let me make that clear. A lot of people aren't going to agree with this. They aren't going to like that I'm going to say this, but it is what it is. It is the cold, hard truth. The NBA draft wrapped up late last night, and although I don't like it as much as the NFL draft, there were some still rather interesting things that happened. And if some of you are wondering why I like the NFL draft more, it's just because you don't know what's going to happen. With the NBA draft, you can somewhat predict it. There's not as many shocking picks as there is with the NFL draft, and that's all there is to it. But still, with that being said, it doesn't mean it's not interesting and there's not some controversial picks. And not just one, but two of the picks that happened in last night's draft are going to be the main topic of this video. And those two picks were actually top 5 picks to be more specific, and they go by the name of the Thompson Twins. We have never, and let me repeat that word, we have never seen this happen in any professional sport where brothers go in the top 5 of a draft. And I'd be willing to say this, you're never going to see it again. Never, ever, ever in a million years. I don't care if we're talking about the NBA, NFL, baseball, water polo, lacrosse draft, it ain't going to happen. But whoa, hold on. Here's where things get a little dicey. Who the heck are these dudes? I've known about them for a little bit. We'll talk about that in just a second, but your casual fans have never heard a single thing about these dudes. And I can't blame those people because they didn't play college basketball. They weren't on national television. They didn't play overseas. They didn't play in the G League. They played in overtime elite. There's not just one, there's many. There's 1,000 questions surrounding these twins. In today's video though, I'm going to tell you the cold hard truth about the Thompson Twins. To go along with that, and this all goes hand in hand, I'm going to show you what their dad said to me years ago. I find this to be a super fascinating situation. Hope you guys do as well. I think y'all will. Alright, Matt, blah, shut the crap up. Now without further ado, let's get into it. First things first, let's go down. We did this with the NFL draft, and you guys seem to like it. We're going to do it the same way with the NBA draft. We're going to start at 1, break these down, and go all the way to how many? Yeah, that's 58. Actually, a matter of fact, let's just go over the first round in today's video. If y'all like this, we'll talk about the second round in tomorrow's video. Well, to start things off, I am not going to talk about picks 1 through 3 because we saw this coming for months now. Victor Wembanyama, number 1 to the Spurs. Everybody's talking about that. You don't want me to talk about that because it's boring. 2, Brandon Miller, boring. Everybody saw that. And then 3, Scoot Henderson, boring. Everybody on ESPN has talked about that for months. Out of everything in the first round, though, the one thing that shocked me the most is pick number 30. To y'all, this means nothing whatsoever. It has no significance. But to me, and to give y'all some perspective on your boy Matt, this is one of my buddies that I used to play against. Kobe Brown, small forward. They label him as power forward, but small forward from Missouri. He got drafted earlier than what most people had him going. Me and him are from the same area, the 256. By the way, shout out to the 256. We played each other growing up. He played for Lee High School. Matter of fact, I'm going to try to find this picture. Me and him got all area. We was named to the all area team. Let me try to find this. Hold on. I found it. I don't even know how I still have this. But on the far right, that is Kobe Brown. He's about 6'8". And on the far left, as you can see, the only white person in the gym, by the way, that's your boy Matt. And let me explain this. If you're wondering why everybody else in this picture, and there's some more to the left of me, but the picture got cut off, but all the people to the right of me you see in this picture, they're in uniform because they were playing for the championship that night. My team got put out by Kobe Brown's team, so I had to show up after to get the award, and that's why I'm dressed up. So yeah, that was the all-area team back in the way. And also, if you're wondering why Kobe Brown's team has 5 players on the all-area team, because the other 2 guys next to him were also D1, D2. No, wait, I think the 2 guys next to him, yeah, they were 6'7", 6'8". They went D1, and the other point guards, I think they went D2. And the other 3 guys in the dark blue uniforms, they went D1, D2, and then your boy Matt, you know, I blew out my knee. I hate to sound like this guy because I told myself I wasn't going to be this guy. The uncle who's showing up to the cookouts talking about how they could have went to the league if they didn't tear their ACL and blow their knee. But that's what happened to me. But the difference with me is I would never tell you I could have made it to the league because I couldn't. But I did have some D2 offers and some very small D1 offers. But getting back on track here, it's just really cool to see someone from your own area get selected in the first round. A guy I used to play against, I think we played each other 6 to 8 times. Always great battles, man. And another reason it's so cool is because a lot of people don't make it out of the 256 or Northern Alabama if you don't know what I'm talking about. And this is now the second guy I knew personally that's made it to the NBA and also a first round pick. The other guy was Kira Lewis, who got selected in the first round. He was a lottery pick a couple years ago. I played on the same AAU team as him. This leads me into my next point perfectly. I'm not saying I'm the best when it comes to analyzing players, talent, and teams, etc., but I have a good idea what I'm talking about. When I say I've played with and against NBA talent, I literally mean it. I know what it takes, and the funny part is I've also played with guys that I thought were better than Kobe Brown, but they just couldn't stay out of trouble. That's a different video for a different day, but congratulations, Kobe, man. I'm proud of you. I can't tell you enough how much it means to me just seeing someone from our area see all this success. It's cool, man. Wishing you the best of luck, and I know you're going to keep working hard. I don't even got to say it. Getting that out the way, hope y'all don't mind. Wanted to show some love to my city and my hometown. Let's talk about the Thompson Twins because they're next up after Scoot Henderson. At number 4, the Houston Rockets selected Amin Thompson. At number 5, the Detroit Pistons selected Ausar Thompson. Amin and Ausar Thompson. What about that? Going back to back. And I ain't talking about Meek Mill and Drake. Before we even get started in this, that is a dream if you have a brother. Going back to back in the NBA draft. It doesn't get any. Does it? Let me ask you a question. Does it get better than that? I guess you could say going 1 and 2, but who cares? You're still in the top 5. You're still making millions of dollars. And going into the draft, I was like, man, it kind of suck if one of them got drafted at number 5 or number 4 and the other fell to like number 12 or 13 because that's a huge difference. But going back to back has to be one of the most surreal feelings ever. It's definitely cool. That's all I know to say, and it was awesome to see on television. But let's get down to the nit and gritty and the meat and bones. If you don't know this already, the Thompson Twins are about 6'7". Some would say 6'8", but I'm going to say 6'7". 205, 210 pounds. They're twins. It's the same body build for both of them. We'll pick up on this in just a second, but if you want to know why they got drafted in the top 5, both of them, it's because they're freak athletes and they're 6'7". I say this all the time to my young people, and it sucks it's this way, but it continues to prove that the league is heading towards this. If you're not 6'5", you're not going to the NBA. There's going to be some rare exceptions, like a 6'3" point guard like Curry, or maybe a 6'2" or 6'3" point guard that is extremely athletic. But look at the NBA draft. Look at it for yourself. Look at all 60 of those picks. I'd say about 90-95% of them are over 6'6". Do what you want with this information, but if the Thompson Twins were 6'2", they wouldn't have got selected in the first round. You can debate a brick wall on that, and the NBA player said this years ago. I can't remember who it is, and it's so true. The NBA doesn't want basketball players, they want athletes. Think about it. I'll give you an example back to my buddy Kobe Brown, who got selected 30th overall. He's an outstanding basketball player. I'll hype him up all day long. But growing up, I knew players that were way more skilled than him. But what was the difference with Kobe Brown and those other skilled players? Kobe Brown was 6'8". The NBA wants athletes. They want tall players. They don't want basketball players. They don't want skilled players. You can be both, but here's the problem. You can't be short. But I want to show you something crazy that involves the Thompson Twins and me that happened years ago. Their dad is Troy Thompson, and not 1, not 2, but 3 years ago, he reached out to me on Instagram. July 1st of 2020, as you can see right here, he sent me this message. And I'm going to be upfront with all of you guys. I saw it and I didn't think anything about it, and I'll explain why in just a second. Let me show you this briefly. Hey Matt, I was checking out your site and noticed you covered top high school basketball players, which at the time I did. I have 2 brothers that you may have never heard of, which I didn't. Class of 2022, 6'6", both able to play positions 1 through 4 at the high school level, but guards, check them out. You may want to cover them. Keep in mind, this was in 2020. They are ranked around top 150, class of 2022, but that will be changing rapidly over the next season. I want y'all to just sit back and think about this. Their dad predicted the future, and he told me. He told me 3 years before it happened. Yeah, you know, they're ranked around top 150, but that's going to change soon. Oh my gosh, he's got to be feeling like a genius. Mr. Troy Thompson, I hope you're watching this video. Here's the video you wanted me to make 3 years ago, and I should have made 3 years ago. And he sent me some more stuff, which I'm not going to show just because it's personal DMs. But man, I can't even say I regret not making the video because at the time, I didn't even know who they were. At the time, I saw the message from him and I didn't think anything about it, and I'll explain why. Every single day, I got 10 to 15 dads and people just hitting me up saying, yo, Matt, you gotta make a video on my son. They're gonna be in the next big thing. It happens so much, I'm just like, yeah, whatever. Your son ain't gonna make it. And I'm not saying I felt that way about the Thompson Twins. I just thought it was another spam message where some dad's trying to hype up their kid. Y'all know exactly what I'm talking about. Now that I think about it, I do remember seeing that message 3 years ago, and I went and checked him out, and he sent me a couple links, and I watched the highlights of them. And I thought they were good, and I'm not saying that at the time they didn't deserve a video, but I didn't think they were going to be top 5 NBA draft picks, if you get what I'm trying to say. I just thought it was like, yeah, that'd be kind of good. And I never really like to make videos where I'm hyping up kids because I don't want to put too much pressure on them. And also at the time, they weren't really relevant. I mean, we're talking about this was in 2020. If I'd have made a video about the Thompson Twins, nobody would have watched that because nobody knew who they were. And even now, I don't even know if people watch this video because people are just now finding out about them. I just can't believe and I can't get over how all of this played out. 3 years ago, I'll show it to you again right here. He reached down and he wasn't one of those arrogant or cocky fathers. He just said, hey, I got a couple kids you might want to check out. You can tell just by this message, their dad is very nice, very humble, and he raised them the right way. He didn't tell me to make a video, just said, hey, I got some guys you might want to check out you may have never heard of. And at the time in 2020, these were 2 really good players. Do you think a lot of dads, they'd start out by saying, oh yeah, you may have never heard about my son when they're already really good? No. Why I'm so impressed by this message, and maybe y'all don't care, but I'm impressed by it because he wasn't even hyping them up back then. He just straight up told me, hell yeah, you probably never heard of him, but just check him out if you got some time. Heck, man, I wish you would have hyped him up more so I could have paid more attention. With all that being said, though, and I know that was a lot, let's talk about the Thompson Twins. Are they good? How good are they going to be? Are they worth the hype and all that nonsense? I'm not going to sit up here and tell you how many points per game, rebounds and assists, and turnovers they average in the OTE league, which is Overtime Elite, because most people debunk that. And to be honest, these scouts and teams aren't drafting players because they average a lot of points. You draft them based off of potential and hype and what they can do for your team. Here's the real truth about the Thompson Twins, and a lot of people aren't going to agree with this. Let me make that clear. A lot of people aren't going to agree with this. They aren't going to like that I'm going to say this. But it is what it is. It is the cold, hard truth. Both of these young men are roughly 6'7", 200 pounds, and we're just going to say they have a 40-inch vertical. I've seen some people say they got a 44-inch vertical. I'm not going to be a nerd. Let's just say 40-inch. 6'7" and very athletic. That's a better way to dumb it down. I'm not going to say they're a freak athlete because I don't believe they're freak athletes. I think they're great athletes, but they're not freaks. Here's what really excites me about these 2 young men, though. They got a great feel for the game. They're very smooth. The way they play the game, it reminds me of LaMelo Ball when he was growing up. It looks easy. And both of them play the same, so when I say this stuff, it applies to both of them. When I was doing my research and watching film on these guys before I sat down to record this video, I had a hard time trying to find a weakness in their game. I've come to find out and notice that they're extremely good at everything. They're good at passing. They got great IQ. They read the floor well. They play defense good. Everything's good. Their playmaking ability. Yeah, they can create for themselves, but they also can create for other people. That stood out to me as well. They can already shoot pretty decent. They can finish at the rim with the best of them. Do you want me to name off everything in basketball? They're good at everything. If you want to nitpick, and this is really nitpicking, the one knock I would have personally on their game is their off-ball ability. That's a question mark. But the only reason it's a question mark, and yet again I'm nitpicking here, just to give you something to worry about, is because they don't even play off ball or they haven't quite just yet. My question is, when they get to the NBA, can they learn to score when the ball is not in their hands? That would be something you might want to pay attention to because, yeah, it's easy in high school when you're the man and you always get the ball in your hands, and same thing with OTE, but in the NBA, that's not going to be the case. At Houston or the Pistons, you're not going to have the ball in your hands 24/7 or even 50% of the time. It's probably going to be like 20% of the time. But honestly, I kind of feel like they're going to be A-okay playing with other great competition and great players. They got a great mindset, great attitude. I love everything about them. They don't come off as entitled. And take this how you want, but one of the Thompson Twins, I believe it is a man, he's going to the Rockets. I'd already say he's better than Jalen Green. And the reason I say that is because Jalen Green has to have the ball in his hands 24/7 or he throws a hissy fit. Amin Thompson and even Asor Thompson, they just seem like guys where if they don't have the ball in their hands, cool, they're going to do whatever they need to do to win the game. If Amin Thompson for the Rockets is just supposed to sit in the corner, hit threes, and play D, he'll be fine with it, but Jalen Green wouldn't. From everything I've seen and from my research I've gathered, I could be wrong on this, but I don't think I am. Asor Thompson is labeled as the slightly better shooter, but it's not like Amin Thompson's Draymond Green. The dude can still shoot. You don't want to leave him open. Everything I just said, that's the truth, whether you like it or not. You're getting 2 outstanding prospects, 2 outstanding players that are only going to get better and better and better. Super young guys, their potential's through the roof, and I have no problem with them going at 4 and 5 whatsoever. I like these guys. I'm wishing them the best of luck. Yet again, shout out to their father for just raising them the right way, being in their life. I never want to overlook that because that's vital to a lot of kids' success. And I know I said I was going to talk about the rest of the first round, but we talked so much about that. We don't have time. Maybe we'll do that tomorrow. Let me know your thoughts down below. But Romany.